We're back on the Stag today. So having serviced it and done a kind of a health check on it, I had to adjust both front wheel bearings. This one's okay. That driver's side one is now at its very limit, and that will need replacing probably during the winter. It's got a very small leak from the radiator. It's a aftermarket, as you see, aluminium radiator. It's got a very tiny leak down in that corner, and I think it's actually leaking through where the weld hasn't been quite finished properly. So I'm going to pop a bit of rad weld in there, see if we can seal it up. As you see, this one's still got the original engine, the 3 litre V8, lovely engine. Got itself a bad name because of poor cylinder head gaskets, but you get the right gaskets done, and this is a really sweet little engine. So moving backwards, started checking out 1 or 2 clonks that I'd heard when I was driving down here. Just getting under the car, and so at some point the diff will need rebuilding because there's quite a lot of backlash in there, more than there should be. But I'm more concerned at the moment, which is what I'm going to do today, is, I don't know if you can see it, so I'm turning the wheel and this UJ joint is knackered. So there's so much slack in here that it turns about 10 millimeters in each direction before it actually moves the wheel. So yeah, that's the job for the day. Take these 4 bolts out of this flange, that'll drop down. I can pull the drive shaft off, there's a slide couple in there, and then where are we? This is the new unit to go in, and what's actually gone is inside these bits. This is like an outer casing. There are needle bearings in there and a bearing surface which is part of this centre bit, and these bearings just disintegrate after a period of time. So yeah, so this is the end of the drive shaft. This is the bit that bolts, flange that bolts onto the diff, and as you see, the bearings in there are pretty buggered, and that's what we're going to do. Got to take the circlets out of here, each one, pop the caps out, and then basically reverse order, put it back in again. So my usual technique for these is, when you can see there's a little ridge inside there. You've got 4 internal circlets. You take those out, and then literally all I did was took the UJ and on an open vise just tap, and gradually the caps come out, and you can see the needle bearings inside. That's what's worn. They're not replaceable. You just replace it as a unit. You see all the needle bearings there. So yeah, once the caps come out, then the inner part, you can disengage it, and that frees that off, and then basically do the same with those caps as well. Just keep tapping downwards like this, and gradually those caps will work their way out. Yeah, and then this frees itself, and basically the putting the new one in is basically the same. You take the caps off the ends, being really careful not to disturb the roller bearings, the needle bearings. You put this center in, and then literally place a cap there, and if you've got a vise big enough, do it in there. If not, with a press, just press the caps back in. Be really, really careful, make sure the needle bearings stay where they're meant to be. Yeah, and then finish off by putting the circlips back once you've got these all the way down. And this is the culprit. So you see all these are nice and round, and this one has been rattling away inside the cup. This is the cup. You can see it's all scored on the inside. The roller bearings went west a long while ago, and that has basically just been rattling away inside that cap ever since. And that's the result. That's the one that's damaged. That's the one that was causing the problem. There we go. Okay, so I've pressed the bearing caps in. You can see the new spider in the middle, and this is now operating nice and smoothly as it should. And not to forget the grease nipple that goes in there. And then when it's done, you pump some grease into it, and then it lasts a long time. So I'm now going to get that back on the car, and yeah, just complete the other little jobs I need to do. And there we have it, installed back in the drive shaft. So now you see any small little movement on the wheel, and there's no slack in that joint at all. The clonking you can actually hear is in the diff above my head. It's got quite a lot of backlash in it. But all there is to do now is to put this cover over top of here, and then there's a cover, you can see it, that bridges the two parts of the drive shaft, like so, and yeah, job done. Okay, having finished the service, so I've just adjusted the rear handbrake, all the drive shafts back in, checked all the levels again, started her up, and we've got a blow down here somewhere. Oh, that's a nice sound, but that poppy farty blow isn't. So there's a joint just down there, so I'm going to have that apart and see why it's blowing. And finally, after a good hour and a half battling with that joint down there that someone had bodged up before, finally got it sealed, and there you haven't got that horrible chuffing noise. When we hit the loud pedal, gotta love a V8. It may not be a Hemi or a Mopar, but you know what, that's a nice sound. So she's now all ready to go back to her owner. And I'll catch you soon.